There we go. That's the final product. Simple, easy to make, delicious Italian carbonara. Enjoy your cooking. Okay, so we've got the recipe here. Today we're going to be making the relatively simple version. It is Italian carbonara, so there's not going to be any butter. There's not going to be any milk, no cream, none of that. No dairy, if you will. However, I do feel obligated to note that if you do have better, more Italian ingredients, you should be using those in your carbonara. It will taste much better. But before I get into that, I'm going to go through the simple ingredients. You're going to want about 125 grams of pasta per person, whether that's spaghetti or spaghettoni. You're going to want something with a very large surface area to volume ratio, because you need the heat from the noodles to cook the sauce here. 50 grams of bacon or pancetta per person. Doesn't really matter which one you use in this particular instance, they're very similar product. However, if you do have guanciale, you should be using that. Do remember to take off the skin, cut it up into cubes. About 1 centimeter cubes would be good. You can also do it in the form of sticks. But regardless, if you have guanciale, you should be able to use it. I'm not sure if I've mentioned, but I don't have an Italian store anywhere near me. So really, I have a very limited amount of Italian goods unless I take a trip about an hour and a half out of where I live. It is what it is. For eggs, you're going to want to do 1 whole egg per person. And once you're done doing 1 whole egg per person, you're also going to want to include a single egg yolk to make the sauce a little creamier. Now, traditionally, you'd be looking at about an egg yolk and a half, no egg white, in your carbonara. It's very creamy, very rich. I prefer it a little more balanced, but traditionally you would only be using egg yolks. Do keep in mind, if you're using a lot of egg yolks, keep your egg whites and fry them up later. They're a good high protein snack, don't throw them out. For the cheese, if you're in a similar situation to me where you don't have access to a lot of specialized ingredients, you're probably going to have access to Parmesan at a bare minimum. You're going to want to do about 25 grams of Parmesan per person. Ideally, you would substitute this out for a 50-50 mix of Pecorino Romano, and then have that mixed with either Grana Padano or Parmesan. It ends up with a very nice mixture of creamy and strong taste. And lastly, you're going to need some olive oil, and you're just going to do pepper to taste, as I will show in the video. So the white wine vinegar is just to get the fond off the pan. You can use a different vinegar if you'd like. The fond is just the crisped up pieces of bacon, protein, and fat. It just reincorporates back in the solution after it strips it from the pan. Tastes delicious. Forgot to mention this, but if you do swap out the bacon and pancetta for the guanciale, do not use olive oil. There is so much oil in the guanciale, you will not need to do it, especially if you use the water method that I mentioned. Okay, so today we're going to be making carbonara. We're going to start with prepping the bacon. So, real quick, we're going to take a pan like this. We're going to get relatively hot water. It doesn't really matter what order you do it. It's probably easier to visualize it this way. Take some oil, put in your pan. Okay, so ideally, you're supposed to do about 2 tablespoons. It seems we're completely out of olive oil, but that's okay using this method. So you're going to want to add probably about half a cup of water here. Just enough to kind of cover the bottom. You need a little more. You don't want it to go take forever to evaporate. Turn on the light here. Put your heat on high, and then while you're doing that, you're going to want to have, that's tough, about 50 grams of bacon per person. So, I'll show you what that looks like here. I got my scale. Remember to always tare your scale, bring it to 0, even though mine is already there. So we got about 4 slices here. Got another 2. Okay. Now, I'm cooking for 3 people this evening, but we do like a little bit more bacon, so I only do about 150. Looks to be about 4 slices. You can do more if you like, I won't stop you. The bacon's really going to do some heavy lifting here, particularly because we don't have much oil. You really need that oil to contribute to the carbonara. Now that your bacon's chopped, you're going to take it over. You're going to put in your pan. That should be heating. You just kind of flop it, doesn't matter much. I'm going to spread it out in just a second. Oh. You're going to see that your water should just start getting hot enough to boil. And your goal here is to render the fat by cooking it in boiling water. This allows you to get your bacon fat out without burning your bacon. You don't want your bacon too crispy for this, right? This is carbonara, not a BOT. So, almost there. While this is going, I'm just gonna put a lid on. Give me a second, I gotta take a call. Now, you're gonna take your pot, you're gonna fill it about halfway. While you're filling it, you can measure out a very healthy amount of salt here. You want a fair amount, very important. So, this is all getting boiled. You don't have to worry too much about the sanitary aspects of it. It's whatever, and besides, it's salt, right? So this is clearly cooking well. I'm gonna turn down the heat a little bit. Oh. Yep, that's about right. Bring that over the stove. The salt will dissolve naturally as the heat goes up. You want to keep that max just high enough that it doesn't burn your handles if they're plastic. You don't want it going over top. Bacon is cooking relatively nicely here. Keep the lid on, you can really have it go for a while. Now, on the home front here, remove that, I'm gonna tear. You want 125 grams of pasta per person. That's just a rough estimate, you might need more, you might need less. Now, okay. My scale is a little old and a little finicky, I was too rough with it. Now, you can see here, it's about 50 grams more past technically 55 than I need. I only need 375 because I'm having 3 people. But I'm not going to leave 50 grams of pasta there. We're just going to eat it. Worst case scenario, we have leftovers. This is the perfect amount of pasta. If you're having 4, you'll have 500. If you're having 2, you have 250. Quick maths. Now, another thing you're going to want to prepare in advance is your eggs. So you're going to want to have 1 egg per person plus 1 egg yolk. So I'm going to use this to mix actually. So you're going to want to start with the egg yolk. Make sure you keep the egg white, don't waste food. I like to have them fried, right? Just, you know, standard. It's a good source of protein, very clean. So that's the egg. And you can separate it using an egg separator, or you can be a bit of a heathen. A caveman, if you will. There's my relatively separated egg yolk from the egg white. Now I'm going to do the remaining 3 eggs. Okay, so there's your 3 eggs and 1 egg yolk for 3 people. If you're doing 5, just for example, 4, just for example's sake, you're going to have 4 eggs and 1 egg yolk. Of course, you can adjust the number of egg yolks as it increases if you really want to, but it's a good generalized rule. I'm going to check in on the bacon now. Okay, cooking very nicely. You always want to make sure your bacon's cooked through, but not too crispy. So that's just going to continue there. So, you're going to take a second here, you're going to take your fork, you're going to whisk everything. I'm going to quickly dispose of these eggs. Okay, so that's done. Now, the other thing you're going to want to do here, while you're waiting for the rest of your stuff to finish, is you're going to want to measure out your Parmesan. Now, I recommend 25 grams per person. You might think, okay, well, that's hard to measure without a scale. I'm going to tare that. I'm going to show you a little trick. So that's about a quarter cup of Parmesan. 25 grams. So, for every person you're having, you're going to add 25 grams of Parmesan. So, I'm having 3 people, including myself. So we about 3/4. A little over, a little under, it doesn't really matter. Okay. So, you're going to want to mix that up. I hear some noise over here, I'm just going to check. The water's heating up. Increase the temp a bit. Okay, so most of the water's evaporated. And now this is where the bacon really starts getting crispy. Oh. Gonna let that continue. That's about right. Now, oh, rest in peace scale box, that's alright. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take a healthy amount of pepper. You might like less. I like a little more. You'll put it in to your taste, to your discretion. I'm not going to tell you how much to put in. But I don't want to say I like it to look a bit gray, but it should change color just a little bit. You should have a healthy amount in there. So that's probably about how much pepper I'd like. This amount. Looks to be about a tablespoon and a bit. You really don't notice it in the final product. Just adds a little bit of nice flavor to it. So that's your egg solution, your egg mixture. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes here. You can see that the bacon is starting to brown up really, really nicely. Almost getting to that perfect point for the carbonara. It's definitely cooking, it's browning up a bit. However, you can notice our pasta is boiled, or the water is boiled for it. Now, you're gonna take your pasta, right? You're not gonna break it, because Italian's not a big fan of that, for whatever reason, probably because it ruins the texture. Okay, gonna take it. You know what? I only got 2 hands here. You're gonna kinda spread the pasta out like that. Now I'll put this in the sink because I just burned my finger here. The pasta should carefully and slowly slide into the pan. As you see, our bacon is cooking really well. And the tip of my finger is thoroughly kind of cooked. That's definitely gonna blister. Whatever. Just want to gently push the pasta in. Bring it up to boil, and then you can reduce the heat again. Just give it a little more time here. Okay, you're gonna turn this down. It's boiling pretty thoroughly. Make sure to mix it every once in a while to break it up. You don't want it sticking or nothing. Okay. The bacon nicely crisped up. This is about perfect. I'm gonna turn down the burner real quick. So, not traditional, dealer's choice on whether you do this, but I like to use a little bit of white wine vinegar and just get the fond off the pan. Pull them up like that real quick, but gets all that brown stuff off the pan and it adds great flavor to your dish. and it should cook off. Your pan should be more than hot enough. Just to make sure, you can turn the heat back on for a second. Wait for the simmering to slow. Okay, time to try the pasta. Wonderful. Now, you're gonna set some of the water aside. I'm gonna grab a Pyrex here. Just in case everything doesn't melt well into a good consistency. It's gonna take some of the water ahead of the time. Okay, so you put that strainer there. So a spat. All this here. Now, turn off the heat. Safety first. Realize your thing toppled. Okay. That's your pasta. So, as soon as you put it in, you're gonna put it straight into the dish here. You want to retain the heat. Quickly mix it up with the bacon. Just get it coated in the leftover oil from the cooking of the bacon. That's about the texture you'd like it. Now, grab some tongs, doesn't really matter, I prefer them. And the spat. Basically all of it. You take your tongs, mix it in good, keep it moving. You don't want it to cook into any large chunks. You get this if you let it sit and stagnate in place. Give it a second or two for the eggs to pasteurize. So right now, the cheese is melting and the eggs are pasteurized. That's why your pasta has to be hot. Salmonella isn't really much of a concern, at least in North America it isn't. But you just want to make sure that if there is any small amount of bacteria in the eggs, it is cooked. As delicious as raw eggs are. Now, just gonna get a bowl here. Now, if you're fancy, you can use a plate. I'm not fancy. I'm a normal dude. So, I'm gonna do this here. There we go. That's the final product. Simple, easy to make, delicious Italian carbonara. Enjoy your cooking.